Hello and welcome. This is Qlik Meetup Austria session number 8. And today we are looking at a use case on how to scale, how to distribute Qlik reports at scale. And we have two presenters. One is Oleg Trojansky and Emma Camacho. And before we dive into it, let's just let me make a little housekeeping and show you what this is all about. So as you might have heard already, we are recording this. So if you don't see everything, you can still check it out on YouTube. Just give me a week or something to cut it, and then you can watch it later on. We encourage your participation, so please feel free to ask questions and to discuss it with us. Yeah, we are. If you don't know us, we are, let's say, a platform for developers, and we want to show what's possible with Qlik. And yeah, I'm very happy that we are having this use case today. So let's dive into it. First of all, I think I have to introduce Oleg a bit. Also, he should be known to anyone who is in the business. So Oleg is, I call him a legend. I really like this picture with the Qlik tattoo on his cheek. And yeah, he's in the business since 2002. He's very much into performance tuning. He's at the Master Summit, of course, and a speaker of all relevant Qlik events, as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, I said before, he's one of the last legends I was missing on the meetup sessions. So very glad to have you with us here today, Oleg.
Thank you, Bernard.
And let me come to Emma. Emma Camacho is a consultant at Ara Consulting, which is producing mail and deploy. That's the solution on which this use case is based upon. Emma is a consultant since 2016 and studied in various countries. It looks very interesting. She studied computer science and economics, system engineering, and yeah, I'm really happy. I think I've said everything I have to say, and I pass it on to you guys, and please show us what you have to present to us today.
Thank you, Bernard. And Emma, please.
Yes. So what's a mail and deploy? Mail and deploy is the reporting solution for Qlik, including Qlik View, Qlik Sense, and yes, we do support SaaS. And we have 3 areas, or we group our reporting solution in 3 areas, and that's the standard reporting. That's the typical emails every Monday at 2 a.m. in the morning. You have them ready on your desk when you come to the office. We have the self-serving reporting, and we have that in 2 ways. The hub, we call it the hub, our portal, the mail and deploy portal, and the Qlik, the extension, the mail and deploy extension for Qlik Sense. So that's how we have this self-service. And alerting, we have it always, but now it's really on fashion. And now our users can define their own alerts and define, I want to get them, I don't know, every day at 7:30, or if this condition is true, then I will get the email. Good. And now let's go to the fun part. Let's start ShopperTrack project.
Yeah, thank you, Emma. Hi, everybody. So yes, ShopperTrack is a division of a global company called Johnson Controls. They're providing retailers with the customer tracking solution. So they're using Wi-Fi and video equipment to track the traffic in the stores and analyze shopper behavior in the stores, and then they provide that information to the customers in a variety of ways. One of those ways is through ClickSense dashboard and through reporting that's coming out of ClickSense with one of the reporting solutions, right? So for this goal of implementing mail and deploy on top of ClickSense, the goal of this project was to replace a set of 14 legacy reports that were previously distributed using business objects. That platform was decommissioned about a year ago, and the goal was to replace those existing reports to hundreds of clients and thousands of recipients around the world. Some of the challenges, just to describe this project, is so yes, we had 14 reports of different kind of templates, more than 300 clients. I think the program started with 400 clients at first, and then some of the clients kind of got out of the program. About 7,000 recipients of these reports from these clients, and then each client is a retail chain. That may have anywhere between 1 and up to about 500 stores per chain. So some of these are very, very large, and some are just small individual stores, right? Very unique and versatile distribution needs. So variety of different reports. We have weekly reports and monthly reports on different weekdays. We have reports for single sites and reports that we call portfolio for multiple sites together, for the whole organization together. We have all kinds of customer preferences. Some people would like to see one site in their PDF report, or some clients would like to see multiple sites per report. So all of these were kind of challenging to accommodate together in one solution. And of course, because it's a global solution, we had to provide several languages. We focused on these 6: German, English, Portuguese, Spanish, French, and Polish. There could be worse. There could be Chinese and Japanese, but we, the APAC clientele kindly agreed to work in English, so at least we didn't have to deal with too much of a trouble there. And then different cultures or locales. These are different ways of formatting numbers or dates, right? So in the US, we like our numbers one way with commas as thousand separators and periods as decimal separators. And in Europe, of course, I know that you guys like periods as your thousand separators and commas as your decimal separators, right? And there are some flavors of that. So we had 2 formats to deal with, and of course, different date formats, right? So the first attempt at this solution was taken using ClickSense and N-printing, and this project started a few years ago with different set of people and different solutions. So they started, and the initial design was that each client out of these 300 up to 400 clients would have their own ClickSense app, right? Because some of them are giant and their data is huge. Some of them are small. So they decided that it's going to be one app per client. And then in N-printing, the tasks were defined per client and per kind of a task. So weekly reports versus monthly reports, individual sites versus portfolio. So they ended up with 4 N-printing tasks per client. So we had to create and maintain upward of 1,200 different tasks with their settings and filters and schedules and whatnot. All the maintenance was done manually, right? And then from the performance standpoint, we had different filters or selections in our ClickSense app, right? Applied at the task level in N-printing, and some of them at the recipient level. And the way N-printing works, if you have filters at the recipient level, it means that every report will get generated individually for each recipient. Even if you have a number of recipients for the same identical report, because we've chosen to use recipient level tasks, these reports will be generated from scratch so many times. So of course that made the performance a little bit challenging, but mostly the need to maintain so many apps, and behind that's the same amount of data transformation apps and QMC tasks and all of that. It was absolutely impossible to take care of. And of course, every change would have to be duplicated. And after every change, we would have to go and reduplicate those applications and those tasks so many times. So this simply could not fly. From the beginning, this was not a working solution. And some time ago, we had to replace it with the second attempt, still with Qlik Sense and N-printing. We decided to combine these 300 clients into a smaller number of batches. So we grouped those clients manually based on the weekday of their report distribution and based on the country that they're coming from or region and so forth. So we combined them into 18 batches. So now at this time we have 18 Qlik Sense applications still manually maintained. And still the N-printing tasks were done by client, and we still had to maintain 1,200 or more tasks, a lot of manual maintenance. And in N-printing, our 14 N-printing templates for 14 different reports had to be duplicated 18 times. Now it's better than 300, but still 18 times for individual data sources, which are Qlik Sense apps. So this was and still is a lot of manual maintenance. So this solution does work. That's what I actually put in production some time ago, but extremely difficult to maintain. So because of that, we started with our third attempt. And in this attempt, we want to implement mail in deploy on top of Qlik Sense and improve some of the things that we could not um, improve previously. So some of these improvements would be to improve the runtime performance by eliminating the need in repetitive generation of those identical reports, right? For some of the larger clients, you may have up to 50 recipients for one report, and printing generates that report 50 times and would like to generate it once and send to 50 people, right? Also, we wanted to eliminate the need in manual maintenance. We don't want to clone and maintain these 18 batches of apps and templates, and definitely get out of the business of maintaining 1,200 and printing tasks. That's, of course, very hard to do. And then we had multiple requests for additional flexibility. So our clients, those retailers, as I said, these are chains of stores, and most of these settings are defined by the chain, by the client, but then sometimes a given store could be an exception. For example, a German chain of stores may have a store in Poland, and then the reports need to come out in the Polish language and maybe slightly differently formatted. Or differences between the UK and the rest of Europe. UK likes different number formatting and a number of different things, and of course language. So some of these different settings would have to be maintained by site or by store and not by client. And of course, that would mean that 1,200 tasks would have to multiply into a bigger number of tasks, because some of these settings are defined at a task level, like language, culture, and so forth. And of course, that was going to make the maintenance even more difficult in the end printing world. So with mail in deploy, we're hoping to eliminate those issues and allow more flexibility, because mail in deploy is more driven by data and scripting, as opposed to and printing being driven more by forms, right? All these tasks and recipient filters, they're all defined in and printing settings. This is all driven by settings, which is great. It's non-technical. You can have administrators or even users maintain those, but it's good for a small, I would say, small scope of distribution, not so much versatility. It's good to maintain a handful of tasks or a couple dozen tasks, but not thousands of tasks, right? So at this scale, we believe that the mail and deploy approach, which is built more around the data and scripting around the data, that would work better in this particular situation, right? So some of the changes or decisions that we had to make in the process, first, we looked hard into those 14 reporting templates, and we realized that they're actually built from different combinations of the same or similar widgets. We call them widgets, different charts and tables. So these 14 reports are showing pretty much the same information in slightly different angles. One report may have a chart and a table, and another report would have the same chart without a table, or something like that. So for that, we decided that maybe we don't need 14 templates. Maybe we need 1 or 2 templates and allow people to select their widgets and select different variants of those widgets so that their choice of the report that they're going to receive is going to be more flexible on one end. And on the other end, we don't need to replicate the same settings or the same objects, reports, and everything 14 different times, right? So it was both providing more flexibility to our user base and providing less maintenance for the developer team. With the data sources, of course, as we said, that 300 apps was absolutely impossible to maintain. 18 batches created manually is also not so much so much fun to maintain, because every substantial change in the app would have to cause another duplication of the same app 18 times. Not too bad, but annoying enough, right? Now, to complete the total volume of data for all the clients put together would be huge. So we can't use one single app, right? We still need to use some sort of batches, but we wanted to kind of automate that process. And the way we did it, this time we grouped clients into batches, but in more automated fashion. We calculated based on the anticipated number of records for each client. Based on the structure of our data, it's easy for us to anticipate how much data should we expect from each client, each store, each entrance to the store. And right? But calculated automatically. And Mail-in Deploy designed and developed an extension for us, which we call App Cloner. This is an amazing extension. I think it should be sold as a separate product by Mail-in Deploy. So what it does, it's a utility that we can call from either Mail-in Deploy or from Qlik Sense. And what it will do, it will take a template app and replicate it. Replicate it with adding a number to the app name. So if I have my application called my reporting app, then in the cloned copy, it's going to be reporting app number 1, number 2, number 3, and so forth. And these numbers represent these batches, these up to 30 batches that we said. And inside the app, we have logic in the script that would read that setting, get the number from the name of the app, and then go to the data where we defined each client with the corresponding batch number, and then the
My apology, we have some connection issues. I hope Oleg will be back soon. But I think he's totally gone at the moment.
Oh,
Oh, Oleg, you just disappeared. So maybe you can
hello?
catch up.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yes. So how long ago should I get back?
like 1 minute.
Okay. So from the application cloner,
Yeah.
right. So I'll start from the beginning of the application cloner. We have our data model application as a template, and this utility that we can call from either mail in deploy or from Qlik Sense. That utility will clone the model, add a number to the name, and then based on this number, our load script will know what batch to load, what clients should be loaded into that copy of the data model. And then it will also replicate the reload task, and the model will get reloaded in the stream. It's going to be published in the stream. And then on mail-in deploy, on the mail-in deploy side, the whole workspace that contains all the settings, the settings about the data source, about reports and templates and tasks, all that workspace will get cloned as a setting, and then the data source will get reattached to the newly created copy of the data source, and all the reports will come out of this cloned data source. So we have 30 batches, but we don't need to manually maintain 30 applications or 30 copies of the report. It's all done automatically on the fly. So with this application, we can serialize on the fly. And if we decide that we need 300 batches or 3,000 batches, for example, it can all be done because it's done automatically and we don't need to do any manual maintenance on that. So now we have one copy of our data model app that we need to worry about and one copy of everything in mail-in deploy. And this application cloner will clone everything for us when we need it in the runtime. So this is a wonderful utility that made our life a lot easier in this project. And then the scalability. How do we send these reports to 7,000 recipients and not run out of time and satisfy many small clients and a few very, very large clients? So what we're doing, we're using the mail-in deploy feature of parallelization. So in mail-in deploy, customers can purchase certain number of parallel processes, right, or subscribe to. Um, and if you run out of performance and you need more performance, you just need to add more processors to your server and subscribe to more parallel processes in mail-in deploy, and this way you can scale up, right? So we subscribe to 25 parallel processes, which will allow us to process either a large number of small clients on a given day or one huge client with huge distribution that takes hours to produce. We can take that client, split their reporting needs into 25 engines, and run them in parallel at the same time, right? So this helps us with the performance needs of this project, which are very substantial. And then the issue was different cultures or locales, right? Different ways of formatting the number. So anyone who is dealing with global reporting and using and printing or just Excel, when you in Excel, the culture or the locale is defined by the server settings. Actually, to be exactly technical, it's defined by the user that's running Excel. So if you're distributing Excel reports using Excel as the client, that's perfect because every user in every part of the world will receive that report and see it in his or her own Excel settings. Wonderful. But if you create PDF reports from Excel and that's happening on your server, and then you're sending out PDF reports, then it's the locale of the server or the service user on the server that defines the formatting. So if my server is in North America and it speaks English and the locale is the US locale, and I'm generating my PDF reports on that server, then the whole world will have to conform to the North American numeric format, right? And if my server is European and I have the European locale, then the whole world will have to conform to the European locale, which is of course not convenient. So from all the communication we found in the community on this topic about printing and locales, the conclusion was that there is no way to dynamically change locale in printing. You kind of need to go to the user settings and change that globally. So in the beginning, we had to switch from the North American locale to the European locale, and everybody on the team had to know that the server is now in the North American format. Don't issue any European reports, or the server is now in the European format. Don't issue any North American reports or any reports to the UK, for example, because they also like North American format, right? So that was a lot of trouble. We ended up splitting. Luckily, we only had two locales to worry about, no more. So we ended up dedicating another server and another end printing server license just to the European locale. So now we have one server running a North American locale and not one server running a European locale. It's a little more convenient, but now we have two servers to worry about, two licenses, two sets of tasks. All those 1,200 tasks would have to be manually split by their regions between these two servers. A lot of work. What's refreshing in Mail in Deploy is that Mail in Deploy is using a particular Excel API that actually allows changing the culture or locale on the fly. So in Mail in Deploy, we can define the locale or the culture of the incoming data. So how should you expect your data to come in from ClickSense? Commas versus periods. Are those thousand separators or decimal separators? And another parameter in Mail in Deploy defines what should be the culture of the output. So your app in ClickSense may be speaking the North American language or locale, and your output report may be formatted in the European style. And it's all defined on the fly. So in one task, in one batch, we can conceptually have reports formatted the North American way or the European way, and it all runs dynamically and changes on the fly. So that's a very refreshing change. Of course, makes life a little bit easier if you need to distribute your reports globally. Languages. So handling different languages is, of course, a lot of fun, and everybody who distributes reports globally probably knows that. So we had to translate everything in the app, the titles, the axis labels, any other labels, the names of the dimensions and measures, months names and weekdays names, right? So all of that logic is handled in the app, and the app will deliver the language that was selected in one of the filters. All we need to do from Mail in Deploy is to set the right filter, the right language for the right client and site and recipient, right? And we'll receive the report in the particular language. As a tip, as a performance tip, what we found is that even though we have all the variables and all the texts in our ClickSense app, so we can go and we can define these variables in the reports for titles, any sort of labels that are outside of charts, right? But every time we have a variable, it would require a round trip to ClickSense and back from Mail in Deploy, and that is relatively slow. That adds a lot of performance overhead if you need to go for every variable back to ClickSense. So we found that it would be a lot faster and perform a lot better if we loaded our table of translations with the particular language that was selected. We'd load that into Excel as a hidden object that's not used by the report, but rather used within the report. So now we can just point at a particular label inside Excel. So I know that, for example, let's say the word current will appear in line number 10 in the Excel, right? So I can just link to the particular label in column D of this Excel that you see on the screen. And this way, I'm going to get the translated term without going back to ClickSense for every single label, right? We found it to be a lot faster. And again, in our environment, performance is priority number one, because otherwise it's not going to fly. So we have to use any potential tricks to make it faster, right? So this was a very fast solution to load one table with all the translated texts and use these links inside Excel for our labels. And now to the concept of the supporting app. So if you're new to Mail-in Deploy, this is kind of a new concept for you. Supporting app is kind of like a control application, the metadata application that has all the metadata about your reporting needs. So it provides all the intelligence around it, everything related to the creation of the reports. In our case, we allow our users to select specific pages from these reports and specific widgets within the pages. So these selections by org, org is our code name for clients, short from organization. So by organization ID and by store, which is we call them sites, and sometimes by recipient, we would have the mix and match of their widgets that they wanted to see in their reports. The different cultures or locales, the formatting settings, right? Different languages, all of that is stored in the reporting app. And then there are distribution needs. So the division of these 300 and more clients into 30 batches, and how to arrange parallelization, right? What engine should take what client or what set of reports and run at a certain time. All of that is stored in the supporting app, right? So this is the biggest difference between end printing and Mail-in Deploy, is that in end printing, all of these settings are defined as settings for tasks, recipients, groups, and reports, right? And they're defined in certain filters and other settings. In Mail-in Deploy, it's defined in the supporting app, which is a simple ClickSense app, and you can make it as simple or as complicated or as sophisticated as you need. It's up to your imagination, if you will, as a developer to create the supporting app that would satisfy your particular distribution needs. And we found it very helpful in this case because of the vast size of the distribution and so many different versatile requirements that we had to meet, right? Instead of setting up these settings individually for individual organizations, clients in those, hundreds of and thousands of tasks, we find it easier to define that in Excel spreadsheets as settings. And then if we need to change something, we can change it globally in Excel. And then we load this data from Excel into the ClickSense supporting app, and supporting app provides the intelligence to Mail-in Deploy. And then in Mail-in Deploy, report templates are using those settings, and distribution tasks that are defining the distribution logic also use this logic from the supporting app. Okay, so that's what made the biggest difference in this project, that using the supporting app, now we as developers can define any kind of intricate logic as part of the scripted solution in the supporting app. Okay, now the definition of our reports. So the report can have a number of templates in Mail-in Deploy. So templates are parts of a report as part of the terminology. And each template is an Excel template. And the Excel template can have a number of worksheets, just like any workbook in Excel. And then each worksheet can have a number of widgets, and widgets are the individual charts or tables, right? So why all of this? That allows us to have the flexibility of picking and choosing what we need, right? So each page of the report is defined as a template inside of the report, and templates can be merged together or stitched together into one cohesive report. And then each worksheet within the template defines different variant of that page, because again, our client base is very versatile in their requirements. And then the widgets inside of the worksheet further define the flexibility of selecting different widgets for particular variants of these templates. So this is how we defined it. And the supporting app has these definitions. This is more of a logical kind of representation of them. It's defined a little bit more technically in the supporting app, but it says for this client, for this particular store, and this recipient would like to have this widget and that widget, and what variant of each widget would you like to have. So there's a little bit more to it, but logically, conceptually, this is how it looks like. Okay, so these are the templates, right? In Mail-in Deploy, you can't see the exact words here, but the line highlighted in yellow is the setting in Mail-in Deploy that defines the template name or names that should be used for the particular run of this report. And it's a formula. Just like in Qlik, every time you see this ellipse button with 3 dots, it means that it's a formula that it can be calculated, right? Which is a wonderful feature both in Qlik View, Qlik Sense, and also in Mail-in Deploy. So instead of just setting a firm setting, use this template, we can have a formula that says, based on the client and the store and the recipient, these are the templates that will be used in this particular run of this report. And that's a formula. So we like that flexibility to do so. And then again, the templates, as we said, are organized in worksheets. Each worksheet is a different view of the same data, right? And we use the setting that's called condition. In Mail-in Deploy, there's a condition. And with the condition, we can define which one of these several worksheets will be, which one of these several worksheets will be displayed in this particular run of this report. So what you see on the screen, this page has 8 different variants. And the condition will define that, for example, variant number 3 is the one that will be used out of the 8. So the condition will render false for the 7 other variants and only render true for variant number 3. And if the condition is false, the whole worksheet is being eliminated from the report. So again, that adds more flexibility to our portfolio of choices in these reports. And then finally, the individual widgets. Also, on every widget, every section of the report can have a condition. And if this condition is false based on the settings in the supporting app, then the section will get eliminated. So if you go through the worksheet here, you may see several variants of the same exact chart, but only one of them will be printed in the report based on conditions. The distribution of the reports is governed by tasks. As I said, and tasks is a separate language of actions. It's mail and deploy proprietary kind of language. And in these actions, you can do things like set variables, retrieve variables, apply selections, filter certain fields, right? And then at some point, run a certain report and create report documents and so forth. You can merge report documents. So things like, for example, if this recipient prefers to receive individual PDF documents per site, then at the end of creating a report for a site, we're going to save that report to the file system as an individual report. However, if that recipient prefers his sites to be combined in one PDF, then we're going to go to another branch of this script, and we're going to merge these reports with the previously created PDF document until we're on to the end of that cycle. And then we'll create one PDF for multiple sites. So all that flexibility is defined in the logic of this script. And the script, of course, can get very complex. This is plenty complex already, but it can get even more so. But again, this replaces the 1200 manual tasks that would have to manually configure and maintain otherwise. So this is the script that governs the distribution, and it runs through the settings that we defined for ourselves, the application numbers, the batch number that we said, the number of the task is one of the 25. So again, the script will get that intelligence from the supporting app and decide based on these settings what batch should be processed and what tasks should take what reports for the distribution to leverage this parallel processing between 25 cores. So we're coming to the end of the PowerPoint. So what we achieved with mail-in deploy when we replaced the previous solution with mail-in deploy, we are looking at improving the runtime performance because again, we're not generating identical reports multiple times. We're generating them once and then sending them multiple times. We did eliminate the need in manual cloning of applications. We're now only maintaining one copy of each app, one copy of each report, and settings and tasks and everything, right? And we're adding a lot of flexibility to configuration of our clients' requirements, and our user base is extremely happy about that. So we can now set languages by site and even by recipient, right? You can be an executive in a German chain of stores and speak English and receive your reports in English, for example, or vice versa. And things like cultures and even selection of widgets, all of that can be now flexibly configured by client, site, and recipient, something we could never do before. And this is the end of the boring part, which is the presentation, and now to the fun part, which is the demo. So Emma, please take it away and show us some mail-in deploy.
Perfect.
Yes.
Thank you, Oleg, for the super cool explanation. And
I will
share
How
now.
do I stop sharing? Stop sharing. Here we go.
And share. So, am I sharing now? I am
Yes, you
sharing
are.
the wrong one. No, I am sharing. Can you see Mail and Deploy?
Yes.
Management console.
Yes.
Good. So this is the management console of Mail and Deploy. And first things first, Mail and Deploy organizes everything in workspaces. Remember, Oleg was mentioning the workspaces, and it is very handy that now everything is grouped or arranged in workspaces. So look what happens when I activate a workspace. Look what happens to the menu on the left. I was idle too long. Was paying attention. And all this content applies to this workspace. So remember about the app cloning, when we are using the app cloner, which also clones workspaces, all the content is cloned. So interesting, for instance, we have a data source, and the data source, what the app cloner will do, it will change the pointer to the data source brackets 1, data source brackets 2. Okay, here is our pointer. So that's what the app cloner will do. Now that I am here, I can show you the dynamic thousands separator and dynamic decimal separator. Here is where the incoming culture / locale is defined. These are two fields in our model. Good, so that's the part of the workspaces. And now let's go to the report. This is our reports. As you can see, we are work in progress, and I will show you now our report. Perfect. So this is our designer. On the left side, we have the Content Explorer. Here we have our workbook, the template. And here we have some additional information where we get, you forgot this, you forgot that. Good. A report consists of parameters, modules, templates, and elements. And down here, you see the properties of each single item. So what are the parameters? So in Mail and Deploy, we want to have reports that are customizable and recyclable as most as possible. And we achieve that receiving this extra information in the form of parameters. Remember what Oleg was saying about the template list? So this is our parameter. Here we are gonna get a list of templates. Now in this example, I have a constant or a static number, but normally you will get a list, a dynamic list. And here, Mail and Deploy will process it, okay? We receive the language, we receive the organization ID, we receive the site ID. Here, all of them are static because it's for designing purposes and also for demo purposes. Good, so these are the parameters. The parameters are gonna then be used to fill out, well, to fill out many things, but among other things, for instance, the template name. Remember, Oleg said so already? That's the parameter, and is it super small? Can you see something? I hope you can see something.
It is quite small, yes.
Oh, I don't know how to make it bigger. Okay, I will talk about it, and yes. Again, it is a formula, so you can then use that as the list of templates to be dynamically merged into one report. Good. What else is defined in the properties of the report? The culture. The culture also, we get it using this parameter, and also this information comes from the supporting app. What else are we doing with all these parameters? We are doing preparation actions. So before even starting to retrieve information from Qlik, we have to apply some filters. Again, language, operating hours, if it's a report of site type or portfolio type, here is where we do the filtering to the model. Again, this information we got from the supporting app. So the report has all the information it needs to create itself. Good, so that's the parameters and that's the preparation actions. We can go to the templates. Okay, I can mention that it's possible to add modules, and that's Visual Basic.NET code, like really Visual Basic code. In this example, we do not have modules, so this one we are going to skip. But you can have, so you can really do whatever you want when you are designing a report. So templates. Templates are the workbooks. So here we have, for instance, four templates. Yes, and remember we have two different views of the same data. That's in the sheets, worksheets, and we have the widgets. So this is the start tab and the end tab of widgets, and this is going to be merged on the fly according to the properties. Good. Let's go to the elements. These are the elements that you can use in Mail and Deploy. And we are using tables. In this project, we are using tables, expressions, conditions, repeaters, and grouping. We decided to use tables to feed native Excel charts. We decided not to retrieve the graphs from QlikSense because it's faster. Excel will build them faster than if we are gonna retrieve them from Sense. So that's why our tables are feeding these native Excel charts. Good. Let's go first to the tables. Yes. So the tables. Let me choose this one. The tables. Again, because it's like everywhere. The condition is everywhere. In every element, every template, everything, everywhere you will find this condition property or field. You can show and hide elements. You can, which ones templates to include, which ones not. Good. And the tables have a lot of properties per se. For instance, you can have even preparation actions for the elements. We are not using them right now, but you could use them. Include header, include totals, which columns to include, which ones to exclude, to have different formatting for the cells. If you want to write it as in the worksheet or we are not using the Microsoft Office chart. And if you want to have the override or insert rows, cells, etc. So all these are the properties of the tables. Next, we have the expressions. The expressions can be something as simple as a string. In this case, I have to hide the name of the organization. So here I am on purpose writing a constant string. Normally, this would be the field from the data model to get the organization name. And now, but I want to show you this one. This one is the only purpose of this expression is here. This tag is this one, is to hide, show and hide this exact worksheet. So I have my condition, and if this condition, if it's in the parameter included, if this sheet is included in my parameter, let's go back again to our parameter here. This one. Maybe you don't see it. It's S01_1. So this is the one that will be included. The S01_2 is not listed, and therefore it's not included. And that's, we get that done using this text element with this condition. And if it's a false, it will exclude the worksheet. That's how we are showing and hiding worksheets. Good. Next would be the group element. And the group element, number one is we like to have everything tidy, so you can have everything tidy. And you can also have conditions, and you can also have preparation actions. So this one you can see everywhere. Next one would be the other condition. We even have a condition element. Oh yes, we have conditions everywhere. And the condition element we are using, for instance, to show and hide parts of one worksheet. So here is my start tag, and this is the end tag. So if this is true, it will show. If not, it will not show it. That is how we are then doing the widgets on and off. Good. Our fifth one is the repeater. The repeater, we are using one repeater in this report, and it's in the 24. It's nice to have it all tidy. And this is the repeater, and what it does is, there is a repeater. The repeater, I will create a, for each of the weeks, another part. For the monthly, I will create one table for each of the weeks. That's the repeater. Good. Also, it can be conditionally on, off, preparation actions, etc., etc. Good.
Now, just to
yes.
clarify for a second, so repeater is just a loop, right?
Yes.
Or a cycle. If you need to cycle through a certain field value and create a chart for every value of certain field, you can do that. So in our case, we have a weekly table of events that shows one table per week. So in a weekly report, it's just a single table. In a monthly report, we can show 4 or 5 weeks, depending on the month, and show these events in 4 or 5 tables repeated as needed using this cycle element that's called the repeater. Very, very handy to use in a report. Thank you.
Perfect. Yes, thank you very much. Sometimes, yes. And yes, here's where we choose the field that is going to be repeating. Good. So those are our 5 elements we're using. And yes, so let's see it in action. We thought it would be cool to change this report to another culture. So we are going to change the culture parameter minus to the Austrian culture. And we are going to change the language to German. Good. Now, I will click the PDF preview, and in Mail and Deploy, we have the motto: it's better to have more information than to have less information. So Mail and Deploy will tell us step by step what is it doing? So if there is an error, we can find it right away in which element it's there is an error. So meanwhile, this is running. We are running the German version with the Austrian culture. Let's look at the English version with the US culture. So you can see. Now I really gonna zoom. So everything is in the English, and all these, some of the labels, access, measures, dimensions are in the app included. Some of these ones, for instance, these ones are in our, I call it dictionary, in this table where we have the translations for titles, subtitles, for instance, these ones as well. This, maybe Ole can talk about these widgets in particular.
Well, this is all about mostly about traffic, right? So we're comparing the visitors to this particular store, and it's for the most part weekly. This is a weekly report. So we're showing the traffic this week, previous week, same week prior year, and same week 2 years ago.
Sorry.
Right? Yep. On the right, you would see annual performance, so 52 weeks compared between the 3 years. And then in the tables below, we're showing this information again comparatively for these periods and the percent change. And then we go down to the daily distribution level. What was the traffic on different days of the week? And again, comparing this week was the previous week, was the same week last year, same week 2 years ago. One of the interesting requirements we're satisfying now is that some companies, because of the coronavirus lockdowns, would like to skip 2020 in their comparison. So when they compare to last year, they don't want to see 2020, they want to see 2019. And 2 years ago, they want to see 2018, as if 2020 never happened. But only some of the clients, and it's not even defined by region or anything else. It's truly just the desire of individual clients to do it this way. So we are satisfying that that some of the clients will call their last year not 52 weeks back, but rather 104 weeks back. And some clients will call that still, as usual, 52 weeks back. So we're going to have some interesting differences between different clients and how they perceive last year versus the year before, right? And then if you scroll down, Emma, after the daily distribution, we show hourly distribution. So the traffic between the hours of the day on each weekday. So we show it in the line chart and in this kind of a table with the kind of like a heat map using different intensity of the background color. And each of those we call widgets. So now clients can subscribe to these individual widgets. And probably worth mentioning, at first we started with the idea of having just one long template with all the widgets in it and a bunch of conditions. But then the issue we run into is different tables. Different tables in our report require different numbers of columns, and these columns need to have different widths. And that was really hard to accomplish in one long Excel worksheet, because when you use Excel as your template tool, the size of the table column will be defined by the size of the Excel column. So if certain row or column in Excel, say column B in Excel, has 30 pixels, then every chart in that template, every table, I should say, in that table will have 30 pixels in that column, right? And that didn't work for us because we had tables with 6 columns or up to 20 columns or whatever. So we decided to split it into individual pages with the hope that every page would have either one or maybe no more than two different tables, and we don't need to worry about different formatting of different tables on the same worksheet. So that's how we ended up with individual pages, right? Emma, can you scroll down, please?
To show the star. Ah, no, that's still to come, the star.
Right,
Widget.
so this is now monthly performance, another widget that we selected that shows the performance by months. And I can tell my developers that we should remove total from this chart. And
Yes.
it's worth mentioning we're in the very final stages of testing and hoping to go into production really soon. So this is almost in production. Okay,
Yes, and now
yep, and now the table of events. That's the table I mentioned with the repeater. So on a weekly report, it will show events, just one table, but I'm really proud of this particular object because of how dense it is in terms of the information that it provides. So what we did is for every weekday, we show the dates for this week and what was the traffic, the number of visitors on that day. What was the weather? Weather is one of the events that the customers may choose to either enter just temperatures and the type of weather like they did here, or sometimes they only enter specific exceptional weather like big rainstorm or hurricane or something like that. And but we can see, or if somebody wanted to build any correlation between weather and traffic, they could see it in one page. And then below that, we list all other events that the customers are entering into our system. And these could be like, for example, COVID pandemic is an event. It's a permanent event. So you can see check marks on every day. But some other events, like we have an art and film festival, was only active on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And again, customers can quickly see if there is any correlation between that and the traffic. Are we getting more shoppers in the store because of this event, or maybe less, right? And then we compare the same to last week. So here are the dates for the last week and the traffic for last week, I'm sorry, weather and different events that happened last week. And the same thing for the same week prior year. So you can see the dates of prior year, what was the traffic on those dates, and what were the events. And again, if somebody wanted to try to understand if there's any dependency or any correlation between weather and different events and what's happening in the store with the traffic, they could see it all in one page and analyze it very easily without jumping from one object to another. So this is a very rich object. It took a while to build, and it's a combination of several tables in Qlik Sense that we merged together into one cohesive table in Mail and Deploy. Very, very proud of this particular object. All right.
The star.
Is our German version done?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes,
So
yes,
let's take
yes.
a
Long
look at
time
this.
ago.
Same
Long
thing
time
in
ago.
German.
So now we have it in German.
So
And sorry, important
yeah.
thing is the in Austria is with a blank space, and the decimal point is a comma. So that's how we achieve the language and the culture. So in the same machine, the same report, the same everything, just one change, the two changes we did, we could change the language and the culture.
Yep. And again, just to remind you, if I had to do it in end printing, I would have to either swap the locale for the user of the server, for the service user, or use a different server as we do today. So this is very cool that we can just change one parameter and the report runs in a different culture or different locale.
Good. And now the tasks. The tasks, I cannot start it now because it's work in progress, but we can talk about it a bit. As we saw in the PowerPoint, the tasks are responsible of doing a task number, I would say, that we will run in one of the cores. We have 25 cores, so this task will get, I don't know, number 1. This and the app number. Remember that we have up to 30. Well, we could, right now there are 30. They could be more or less. And this task, this script, is responsible to generate, to process this information. Again, everything is in the supporting app, so all the intelligence resides in the supporting app. If there are changes, you go and change it in the Excel. Soon it could be a write back, and that's how you will work on the tasks. Again, very easy to say, is it the type portfolio or is it the type site? So it's only one if, and you can decide which one to use. So really all the intelligence is in the supporting app, and using this scripting wizard, you can, for instance, if single PDF per site, you go here, you talk about it, or if you want to merge it, you go to this if then else. Good, the parallelization is solved using this option. Enable it, for instance. In production, there will be perhaps not 25, so we don't block all the tasks for this. It could be 20. And in the tasks parameter, which is this one, remember the parameters in the reports, the tasks, they can also have parameters. And here is where we will say, okay, I have 3 cores in this machine as a test, or I have 25 cores, then I will have here 25 cores. Good. Yes, that's the story about the tasks. So I think we showed everything we wanted to show. Anything else, Oleg?
Nope. No, I think this is it. Please, if you have any questions, do we have any chat for this? Chat.
We had no real questions in the chat. Just one question if it's a CSV report, which should be answered already.
Yeah, so we're using PDF reports generated with the Excel templates, but as an option, it could be an Excel report or CSV export, if you will, file export, right? Emma, you can.
Yes. We can generate we can generate comma separated value files reports, but in this example, what we are sending to the end user are PDFs. Yes, the ones we saw. Yes. Wait, I'm not sharing this one.
No, you're sharing, you're fine.
Okay. So we are sending a report. This is the report we look that we will send. We can also generate XML reports.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but in this case, in this example, we are sending PDFs. Any other questions? Shoot questions.
So you should be able to unmute yourself and ask vocally, or you can write it down in the chat.
Please,
as you wish.
Please unmute. Yes.
Hi Emma, it's David Foster from the UK. Thanks for doing this demo. Thanks Oleg, it's been really good. One of the gaps in sort of M printing 19 or whatever number they want to use there, is not being able to refresh the QlikSense app before you execute the report. Is this functionality within Mail and Deploy?
Yes, thank you very much for the question. And yes, you can, if you say reload, you mean reload? Yes, you can do
Load
a
data
reload.
source, yes.
You can reload the data source from within the report. So the report will say, hey, before creating myself, I have to reload the data source. Or you can also do it in the tasks. If you say, okay, before doing anything, I will, my task, no, wrong one. I will reload the data source. It could be the first one in the line. I would say reload data source. Yes, you can do that.
Okay, thank you. And is there also an API control layer for Mail and Deploy?
Yes, yes, and you can do a lot of stuff with the API. Yes.
Great,
In
thank you very much.
fact, we are using our own API to do this app cloner add-on. Yes. And you can see all of these actions are available when you are doing a task. So you can filter things and you can merge and you can reload data sources. You can share in the FTP or in the SharePoint, OneDrive. You can AWS, Amazon, you can upload there as well. So all of this you can do in a task.
Yeah, and at this time, I'll just mention, David, thank you for joining from the US. In the US, I am reselling Mail and Deploy. So if you're interested in exploring this functionality, please contact me, especially definitely in the US. And then, of course, in Europe, then Mail and Deploy is an Austrian company. And that's partially the reason I picked this subject to talk about in Vienna Summit. I thought it was most appropriate to present an Austrian partner in Austria. But for the US crowd, I am a proud reseller of the Mail and Deploy software.
More questions?
And I think it's a great use case on that shows us what alternatives to end printing there are.
Perfect. Well, we don't want to hold you. There are no more questions. Last chance. Anyway, you are gonna get the PowerPoint and you are gonna get, and the video is recorded if you need to show it to someone.
You seem to be muted, Bernard.
I was not muted. No, I was not muted.
No, I think Bernard
Okay.
was muted.
Yes, I think is muted. You are muted. You are muted, Bernhard. Still muted.
We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry, I had to switch. So, okay, there was one last question. If you support SaaS?
Yes, Mail and Deploy can connect to the SaaS apps and generate reports, taking them as a, yes.
That's awesome.
Data
So-
source. Yes,
Great.
and the service, the Mail and Deploy extension for Qlik also work in apps that reside in Qlik SaaS. Mail and Deploy server has to be on premise. That we don't offer yet. a mail and deploy in cloud. But that has to be in on-premise.
And is your server, what is the technology it is based upon?
It's developed in the .NET framework.
Great. Then thank you for showing this to us. I think it's a great end printing alternative. And as always, we will save this session on YouTube. There will be a link to the presentation, and if you have any questions, you can ask them later on in the meetup session or get directly in contact with us. Yeah, but in case there is no other question, thank you for presenting. Thank you, Emma. Thank you, Oleg. It was great having you on our session. Thank you.
Yeah, and just really quickly, there was a question about site and contacts. So maybe, Emma, if you could post in chat the site for mail and deploy. And then if anyone needs to contact me for any with any questions for mail and deploy or for anything that I do, including my masterclass, I'm very accessible. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Qlik community. Send me an email. I can post my email address in the chat.
I will also post it.
Please contact me, right? I didn't even mention in the introduction that I teach a masterclass on Qlik Sense. With COVID, it became virtual for the most part. And if you guys are interested in a masterclass for your organization or for your country, please contact me. I work with local partners to do so, and we can get it arranged. Okay. So in the chat, you can see our contact information and the website if you'd like to visit. And with that, thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.